Welcome back, everybody. We got week 17, Double D's. I'm Daryl.
And I'm Dave.
And we're back with some fantasy stuff for you. Now, if you're playing this week, you're either in the championship or your league's done.
Possibly the semis, fighting for third place in a bubble bust.
You know,
we pay out 4 in ours. I do prefer that. I feel like if you make playoffs, you should make money.
I agree.
Take note, James.
I like that too, although, there's disadvantages to playing this week, some of which we'll get to later with some of the games. I mean, there's lots of injuries, the obvious, Derek Carr, Marcus Mariota, oddly broke the same bone in the same leg the same week,
It was Russia.
It was, I think so. Putin and Trump are in on that one.
The Illuminati.
AJ Green, he's been ruled out. Lamar Miller's got an ankle problem. I don't see him playing. I think Alfred Blue picks up the slack because, they have nothing to play for this week. They can't move out.
Yeah, they're in
division.
They're in. Stay in.
So why are you going to risk Lamar Miller?
That's savage.
It is savage, like Macho Man. Sammy Watkins with a foot injury, but he's been banged up with that off and on. I think he plays. Shady got sent home with an illness.
Oh yeah,
snap it to a Slim Jim. LaShawn plays this week. They're going to try and avenge Rex Ryan. DeMarcus Ware, he got put on IR with the back for Denver defense owners, but then again,
Sorry to stop you there, Daryl. Did you happen to see the photo of watching Rex Ryan leave the Fastidio in his all decked out Bills truck? He had, he had the images of Bills all over his truck. It was decaled like that, and it was a pretty good meme. That's kind of rough getting fired and then having to drive away in your ex-team's vehicle.
I like Rex Ryan. No, I mean, I wouldn't want him as the coach of my team, but
fuck Rex Ryan.
Exactly.
White privilege ass.
Ryan Matthews, he's on IR. Sproles is going to get the carries there. Melvin Gordon, I don't think he plays this week. He's been pretty much ruled out, hasn't he?
I don't know that he's been completely ruled out. The only way I can see him not playing this week is the team officials and upper management saying, hey, we're going to reward you with those 3 yards, give you your bonus, we want you healthy for the long term, and I do believe that is the smart move.
Oh, yeah, it's most definitely the right move. I mean, why do you think A.J. Green's not playing? He wants to. It's dumb to. Adrian Peterson, same thing. He ain't playing. If it was important, playoff time, or they're fighting for playoffs.
We talked about this earlier in the year. Sorry to cut you off there, Daryl, but I wanted to touch on this just in case we don't bring it up again later in the podcast. Do you have any idea of where you would like to see AP go, or do you think you know where he could land?
Wow, there's lots of options there. Personally, I think if he's smart, he stays away from some shit team that's going to throw him an offer like, the Browns. I could see them throwing him house and home and getting his money as a free agent. I think if he's smart, he goes home to Dallas and backs up Zeke. I don't think his pride's going to let him do that at this point. If he was smart, he'd stay in Minnesota, take a pay cut to about $7 million a year, and let them rebuild their offensive line. Maybe Seattle.
I can say I agree, but I think I have more of it would be fun to see him here. I think one serious contender is the New England Patriots. I think we all understand this. If Bill Belichick sees something he wants, he goes and gets it. And this is what I could see happening. I read today that if they were to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, they would want a first and fourth round pick. Well, tell me that we don't hate Sam Bradford, but tell me you can't make a sign-in trade to where, hey, we'll send you Sam Bradford, we're going to send you AP instead of our picks that we already don't have.
For Jimmy.
Open up some money, bring Jimmy back, and possibly a complimentary fourth-round pick from the Browns that I'm sure Belichick is overstocked on over the seasons because it seems like he's always sending someone out the door to the Browns for a fourth-round pick. Another team in division, Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
Could you see AP going there, possibly them sending Cheeseburger Eddie out the door, bringing AP in and a little something else? Because I believe even with Lacy's injury proneness, and we know what the Purple God can do, he is getting older. He is over that age limit where we see running backs decline. Mm-hmm. But I think we both agree that with a player like AP adding to the already stacked offensive line of the Green Bay Packers as a pass blocker for Aaron Rodgers, that can be super deadly.
The only thing with that is, I'm not comparing Lacy to AP in his prime. They're kind of similar style running backs, very physical. Lacy's a guy that should be getting the ball 20-plus times a game, 20, 22. Doesn't happen. They go away from the running game. We talked about it before, like when they were using Ty Montgomery. That was when their offense was most successful when they were using it right. I don't see, the only problem with that is I see AP getting really big money offers from shit teams, whether it be a hope and a prayer that he still has something left in the tank or as a ticket draw, whatever it may be.
Or just a strict goal line back type of situation. That's why we both agreed earlier in the season, go to Dallas. Yep. Don't ask for so much because we already seen earlier in the year Alfred Morris vulturing, Lance Dunbar vulturing, and it wouldn't be a vulture. I would handcuff that duo and possibly flex AP, knowing that they're going to move the ball and get down the field.
And then they could run an offense similar to what Buffalo does, where they run 35 times, 40 times a game sometimes. A lot of options there. It's just I don't know how much of AP's pride's going to get in the way to want to take a backup role at this point. I think he's still good enough to start. I don't think he's AP anymore.
Let's see what happens in the playoffs because I think a ring can trump all. And if Dallas at least gets to the NFC Championship game, I think that is a serious thought.
That is, definitely. Let's see here. We got Jordan Reed, another iffy one who's still got the shoulder injury. Randall Cobb with the ankle.
This is something we're going to do more in this podcast, too, because it's a very light week. We'll touch a lot of things. We'll touch our scores. I want to pick your brain again. Sure. I think we've both talked a lot about tight ends here. Do you agree with me that Travis Kelce moves up to the number 1 tight end spot next year? And if so, do you think he's valuable enough to be picked in the top 2 rounds as a Rob Gronkowski, or does he still fall to that 4 or 5 round where we've been seeing him go?
I don't know about top 2 rounds, but I would most definitely say, a high 3rd round pick at this point. As far as talent-wise, he's not Gronk, but let's face it, Gronk isn't even Gronk anymore. The man's hurt all the time. Jordan Reed, very big injury risk just as well. I mean, Kelce, the guy lately, he led the NFL in receiving yards the last 6 games.
Yeah, I'll tell you this.
Put it that way.
That defense is nasty, and if I can lay a bet down in Vegas with odds that are more than 10-1 for them to get to the Super Bowl next season, I will do that because of their defense. They give that offense a lot of opportunities, and Tyreek Hill is an up-and-coming star. Watch out for Jeremy Maclin to be moved.
I wouldn't be surprised there either. I mean, there's no point. It's a ground-pound offense, and you got Travis Kelce, who really is their legitimate receiving threat. I know Tyreek Hill's establishing it on his own, but Kelce's a whole different beast.
Oh, he's a great blocker.
He ran the same 40 times as Gronk.
You know who he reminds me of with a little bit more burst is a Heath Miller. Not being biased. He can block, he can catch, he can run, he does it all.
See, and that's where you lose with a Jordan Reed. He's not that great of a blocker. I know that doesn't apply so much fantasy purposes, but real-life football.
No, and what's his IQ? He punched a helmet. Da-dum!
Versus Kelce threw a flag at the refs.
See, now that's boss.
That's classic. That's classic.
Vintage like a porno.
Now, some ads this week if you're looking at, somebody to plug in for your championship. I know I ran into it with Carlos Hyde being put on IR. The man I'm playing this week, he's running into the Melvin Gordon issue himself. Jaquiz Rogers, Doug Martin got the PEDs entering a treatment center. He's going to be the workhorse there. Cameron Meredith, we talked about him the week before.
Charles Sims is also on IR with an upper pectoral injury. So Jaquiz Rogers really is a hot play this week in your leagues and in DFS.
No doubt there. And then we got 2 of my favorite vultures, Gillislee and Turbin. I see with the Colts being out of the playoff picture, I see Frank Gore. And I'm a Frank Gore owner. I'm leery on what to do with him because is he going to play all game or are they just going to let Turbin run it?
It's one of those scenarios when you have Kenneth Dixon and Terrence West and you almost play them both and one of them's going to go get you your points and the other one should get 10.
See, because this is where you're thinking when you're adding people this week, who's sitting, who's starting? The Steelers, they're sitting everybody. All of a sudden you're looking at D'Angelo and Fitzgerald Toussaint. Eli Rogers. You're not looking at AB. Ladarius.
Jesse James.
Right. Jesse James instead of Ladarius.
Chris Boswell will be one of my top 3 kickers this week because they'll be able to move the ball. We've seen what happened when Landry has a full week of first-team reps. They may not score a lot of TDs, but they will get the ball into field goal range.
That's right. And then you're looking at the Giants. How much is Odell going to play? The Cowboys, we were talking about it before. Dak, I saw something that he's going to start, but Sanchez is going to play almost all the snaps, which is the right thing to do. You don't want to risk Romo or Dak. You don't want to risk Zeke. Why even play him? Why even play Alfred Morris? Let Darren McFadden play.
Speaking of the Giants, Bobby Rainey is a hot commodity this week. I don't see them using Richard too much to keep him healthy for the hunt. Right. Even like a player like Sterling Shepard, I would be weary of. The only player I truly like in that receiving core is Ty, the tight end. He's someone that I think could see a lot of passes.
I agree with you there. I mean, like Odell's scary, Sterling Shepard, I think they kind of rest him a little bit. And even Victor Cruz, God's say. I mean, he's been hurt so many times, and he's been kind of fantasy irrelevant for the most part of this year. But
he's the Steve Smith Sr. of the team, the veteran wide receiver that's keeping those guys there and together.
He is. Somebody's got to keep a level head with Odell headbutting, kicking nets and such.
Speaking of that, hats off to you, Steve Smith Sr. Big fan here. You've had a great career. You mentioned that you're retiring after this year. Thanks for all the good years of fantasy, man.
Yes, I really like Steve Smith, and maybe he's not done. He's 89% sure. That was his quote. I'm 89% sure I'm done retiring. The guy balls out, brings it every day. I know he runs his mouth a lot, but hey, that's part of sports. I like the guy. I really do. He's a little man amongst men, and he goes and balls out regardless.
He might just want to leave Baltimore. I've seen some statistics. Now, don't quote me because I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but I will have them up before the podcast. That like Joe Flacco's like maybe 2 games over 500 since he signed his multi-5-year contract. He's definitely been on the decline, and there is a need for wide receivers in the NFL.
Well, yeah, I mean, Joe Flacco signed that big contract. Why? Because he got hot for 3 games in the playoffs. Now, I know he tore it up in the playoffs that year, and they won the ring, but that was based off of, let's face it, their defense. It really, really was.
Ray Lewis, baby.
Oh, yeah. Another one of my favorites. He found God. All right. Now, this game,
maybe someone should have had Darren Sharper find God before he molested all.
Oh, wow. He took
shots fired. Bang, bang.
He took a page from the Bill Cosby book.
It's his uncle.
All right, we got Patriots-Dolphins. And I had such a hard time picking this game. The Patriots are sitting at 13-2. Dolphins at 10-5. They can improve to the number 5 seed, which would mean I do believe that they go to Houston if they get the 5 spot instead of going to Pittsburgh, which is a huge difference if you're looking at advancing in the playoffs. Patriots at 13-2. They are the number 1 seed in the AFC, and I think the only way that they lose the number 1 seed is if they lose and the Raiders win. Now, I don't see the Raiders winning in Denver. I know Belichick's not going to give up the number 1 seed. I'm hoping they rest some of their players this week. I kind of think they will. Miami always plays them tough in New England or in Miami. They play them even tougher in Miami. Now, Ajayi, he's got 1,096 yards in 10 games. 3 200-yard games, coming off a 200-yard game last week. We were in a 3-keeper league. I was debating who my 3rd keeper was, and I told myself if Ajayi pans out, I'm going to keep him. I found my 3rd keeper. But you're looking at the New England Belichick's, they've allowed 33 less points this year than any other team. Brady's got 25 TDs and 1 pick. Blunt leads the league in rushing touchdowns with 17. I think we're going to see a lot of LeGarrette Blunt this game. I think we're going to see a lot of Ajayi. That being said, I think, and maybe I'm being biased here, I think as long as the Patriots rest a bit, which I think they will, Miami takes this one because they have more to play for. Dolphins 34, Patriots 28 on the back of Jay Ajayi.
Yeah, I talked to you about this a little bit before the podcast, just to reiterate the win-loss records of Oakland and New England. That definitely sways my prediction and score in this game. There is no biasm. I mentioned that to you last week when you made the Dolphins pick over the Bills. You were absolutely correct. Because of this situation here, I am infatuated with the Miami Dolphins defense. If I was not a Denver Broncos defense owner going up against a backup quarterback there in Oakland, I would be picking them up and starting them against the hooded one. They do have Jimmy Garoppolo, and I do believe that we're going to see a big dose of him over Brady if we even see Brady. Yes, I do like LeGarrette Blount, and the reason why we're going to see him is because you only have James White, because when you're clinched, you're not putting Dion Lewis out there in harm's way. We've seen very good flashes of him, and I'm excited to draft that man next year. With that being said, the Miami Dolphins will win this in a tight game, 23-21.
Thank God. I don't want to see him go to Pittsburgh, Dave. I really don't. Now, we got Jacksonville and Indianapolis. Colts 7-8, Jaguars 3-8, 3-12. They're both out of the playoffs. Bortles is coming off what could have been the best game of his career last week. He had 325 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and he had a touchdown catch. It's the first time Bortles has won in the NFL when he's thrown for more than 300 yards. Kind of scary. Colts, Andrew Luck. He's 9-12 the last 2 years. Is he the answer? Is it the team thing? I don't know. I think we're not going to see too much of Frank Gore in this one. To my dismay as a Frank Gore owner, I think we're going to see some Turbin. I think T.Y. is going to play because Moncrief's banged up. I think Luck's going to throw the crap out of the ball. Not much to talk about here. I think the Colts take this one. Indianapolis 30. Jaguars 17.
Yeah, and Chris Ivory could have been a pretty big play this week going up against a busted Colts defense there, but he has had a hamstring injury throughout this week. I've kind of been following that. I thought about adding him myself. I do like a shoelace here. Denard Robinson, it's definitely someone to watch. You know, I just completely don't know where this game's going to go. I think Blake Bortles throws the ball off at least 2 defensive players' shoes, possibly a helmet throw. This guy's awful. I don't know if it's him or Allen Robinson that makes me hate the Jaguars. Kind of had a debate with someone the other day, and the name escapes me. Great defensive player right here for the Jaguars.
Jalen Ramsey.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I just had a little bit of a brain, little toot there. But they were talking, and they're like, oh, he got burnt last week, this and that, and this and that. I'm like, look at the year stats on this guy. He has locked down some of the best receivers in the game, and especially for being a rookie. I mean, let's look at the old boy from Carolina that got burnt by Julio earlier in the year on his 300-yard game and cut. We're looking at a guy going up against top-notch wide receivers all year and holding his own. With that being said, I have an upset in the making here. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning a tight one, 17-16.
You're right, Dave. We've been talking about Jalen Ramsey quite a bit. You know, you're talking top corners. For some reason, Darrelle Revis gets mentioned yet. That's name recognition more than anything. You talk Patrick Peterson, you talk Richard Sherman. Guess what? Jalen Ramsey's better as a shutdown corner than those two. And so is Xavier Rhodes.
Oh, I agree. And their defense is still a little banged up. I'll be excited to watch Jacksonville in the upcoming years if they can get a quarterback with consistency and find out what Allen Robinson's dropping problems are. He is dropping the ball left and right multiple times. You could have had X amount more touchdowns this year. He's an exciting player to watch. I feel bad for those Jacksonville fans, but not as bad as I feel for the Browns fans, even though they got themselves a W. Hey, super excited. Still getting the first pick.
Actually, when they won, their odds of getting the first pick improved by like 8 percentage points because the other 2 shit teams won themselves. Now, we got Panthers, Buccaneers. You know, start of the season, we never thought these records would be the way they are. Bucs sitting at 8-7, Panthers sitting at 6-9. Cam, man, I feel bad for those people that took him in the first round. He's completed 45% of his passes in those last 6 games for a QBR of 39. That's ridiculously horrible, especially for a so-called MVP superstar such as Cam. Now the Buccaneers, they need a lot of help to make the playoffs. They still have an outside chance, but it's weirdy. You might as well be hitting the lottery, pretty much. Doug Martin's out. We talked about that before. I think you're going to see heavy doses of Jaquiz Rodgers. You know, the Buccaneers are sitting at 8-5. Jameis Winston, since then, in the last 2 games, 5 picks. That's not getting it done. I think he's still a young quarterback, though. I think he's still going to be a very good quarterback for many years to come. I mean, those are the growing pains you deal with. They play in a very competitive, high-scoring division. That being said, Tampa's D's really stepped it up this year. They're one of those defenses that doesn't get mentioned with the other top D's, but they're right up there in them top 12, top 10. They really are. With the Panthers' struggles, that being said, I mean, if you got Greg Olsen, you got to start him. If it's me and you got Cam, I might want to look somewhere else if you're still playing this week and you got Cam. That being said, you're going to see Jaquiz Rodgers, Mike Evans, Jameis Winston, Cameron Brate. There's another guy that came out of nowhere. That being said, Bucks take this one. Tampa Bay 24, Panthers 20.
I do believe Cameron Brate is out. He did get hurt, right, but he has been quite amazing after Austin Seferian-Jenkins doesn't like to use the Safe Ride program, go get a DUI, and look like complete garbage in New York. I don't even blame the QB play in New York. I watched him drop another touchdown catch last week. It was just awful. You mentioned the Tampa Bay defense. I go back here to week 14 at home when their defense really steps up. They do travel as well. Not as good, but 16-11 over the New Orleans Saints. Mm-hmm. Who that got taken down. I mean, I'm pretty sure that week we both had Drew Brees going out there to throw a couple TDs because we look at the safeties and corners, just the back defense of Tampa Bay, and they're small, but they play receivers tough. I give them all the credit in the world. In this game, I don't know who I like more. Carolina, Tampa. Fuck both these teams, all right? I don't even want to predict the score, but I will. 13 Tampa, 6 Carolina. Just god-awful.
Right, and talking about their D, it's not so much the secondary that does it. It's their front seven. They're getting a lot of pressure. Gerald McCoy's really stepping up. I know he kind of floundered for a couple of years as a high draft pick. He's kind of turned it around. Speaking of floundering, we got Bears and Vikings. Vikings started out, 5-0. They're sitting at 7-8. Gotta love that. Bears are at 3-12. Neither of these teams are playing for anything. Barkley, 5 picks last week. 12 picks in the 6 games. 3 picks in each game in back-to-back games. Not even Cutler's done that. So for those of you thinking that he was a step up from Cutler, and for a moment, I was wondering myself, he played well for a moment. He's not. Cameron Meredith really loves him. He's a guy to watch. Jordan Howard, they're going to be riding Jordan Howard all day, feeding Cameron Meredith. The Vikings, they've given up, from their vaunted defense to start out the year, they've given up 72 points in the last 2 games. And their defensive backs last week, supposedly they freelance versus Jordy. Coach Zimmer wanted Xavier Rhodes to shadow him all game. Terrence Newman said, I got him. Guess what, Terrence Newman? 10 years ago, maybe. You're old now. Xavier should have shadowed him last week. Doesn't matter. Vikings, no AP. I don't hate Sam Bradford. I think he does enough throwing to Rudolph, throwing to Diggs. The Vikings don't have a running game, which is why we're talking about is AP done or not. He hasn't done much when he played this year. Nobody's been able to run the ball in Minnesota. Their defense is going to give up some points. Barkley's going to throw a couple picks because that's what he's shown to do. Vikings take this one. Minnesota 27, Chicago 21.
Well, I'm glad you avoided the name that still haunts me right now that I left on my bench because of fucking Tampa Bay not disclosing that Mr. PED himself, Doug Martin, was suspended till 3 in the afternoon. For those of you that don't know,
I didn't want to rub salt in the wound, Dave.
Yeah, I missed the championship game against Darryl by 11 points because I was not informed of Doug Martin being benched until later in the afternoon when Adam Thielman and Sammy Watkins had both played, which both would have got me in by over 20 points. I have let that go, but it does sting in the wound. I mean, it's just, I don't hate Sam Bradford at all, but I do see a scenario where the Vikings fans may want him out of Dodge. I personally don't hate him. If you're not going to bring in someone else, at least that's proven as a Jimmy Garoppolo, I think I stay true with him. You like Jordan Howard. I like Jordan Howard. I do believe Meredith is better than Alshon. Both these guys, it's a sad sight to see. I wish the Packers had a little bit tougher competition in their division. With that being said, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say 7 interceptions total will be thrown. The Minnesota Vikings will win 18-15.
Speaking of not hating Sam Bradford, for the Vikings fans that don't want him getting out of here, he's the best quarterback since an over-the-hill Favre came into town. And this week, he can set an NFL record for completion percentage in a season.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I know he's got some dump downs, but look at the offense he plays in.
That's very true. That is very true.
That's not all him, and he's been getting creamed after the first 5 weeks. He's got no protection, and he's been on his ass game in and game out.
That's what she said.
Right? Speaking on their ass. Good segue, Dave. We got Browns Steelers. Browns 1-14. I think they're kind of hoping maybe with the Steelers sitting, they can get a good winning streak going here of 2 games. Because they finally took one last week. I don't know how they took it against the Chargers, but they did. Steelers, they've clinched the 3rd seed. They're on a 6-game win streak. Le'Veon, your man, averaging 181 scrimmage yards per game in that 6-game win streak. 7 touchdowns in that time period. 5.2 yards per carry. You want to look at MVPs? I know he missed some time. That's got to be a viable candidate. The man just balls out. He ain't balling out this week. You're going to see lots of D'Angelo and Fitzgerald Toussaint. I don't see Antonio Brown playing too much. I'd bitch slap Tomlin if he played Berger. I really would. That's just foolishness. But Darius Green, nope. You're going to see Jesse James. That being said, I don't want anyone on the Browns because I don't see him sitting defensive players. I like the Steelers D in this game. I like Eli Rogers in this game. As for the running back, I don't know if it's going to be D'Angelo or Toussaint. If it were me and I were the Steelers, I'd be playing Toussaint and not risking D'Angelo getting hurt because we saw what happened to them last year in the playoffs where they were down to their 3rd and 4th string running back. That being said, even with them resting their starters and not having to play for any sort of improvement in seedings, Pittsburgh still takes this game because they're at home. 23 Cleveland 17.
That truly is dirty. I do believe there is a less than 0% chance that Ben Roethlisberger will be playing, especially with that little bit of a banged-up knee towards the end of the game last week against Baltimore. He did say that he was fine. I would, in fact, give Le'Veon Bell multiple hand jobs if he got us back to the Super Bowl. I've vented about this many times, and I've seen so many things over the last couple weeks of, is Zeke an MVP candidate? Shut the fuck up. He's not. I told you, the one player that I would have been okay with seeing getting the MVP over Le'Veon and had zero debate is David Johnson. He's the only other player in the NFL right now that could even come close. And for all you A-Rod fucking cocksuckers out there that can't get your mouth off his nutsack, he wasn't even close. Not even a close second. Brady missed a couple games, and I would have taken Tom Brady over Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers just got hot. He found a way to get hot at the right time, and I don't think it was him. I think it's Jordy Nelson being completely healthy, Mr. Consistency, and always finding the end zone. If you notice, I'm avoiding talking about this Steelers-Brown game because it means absolutely nothing. Hey, maybe the Steelers throw the Browns a frickin' bone and say, hey, we're going to give you a W, LOL, JK. Let's let the 49ers and you battle this out to see who's getting that number 1 pick. With all that being said, you mentioned all the players that I like. I think someone that becomes relevant again this week, Terrell Pryor, Brandon Coleman, there's going to be some points scored. I will put this in the books. The leading scorer for the Pittsburgh Steelers will be Chris Boswell with 5 field goals. Let's do the math on that. 3 times 5 is 15. We'll find the end zone one time. Score 22-17.
You know, talking about MVP candidates, I'm right there with you, Dave. I'm Zeke or Dak even. No, I'll give the Cowboys' offensive line MVP over either one of those.
Absolutely. That's my biggest advocacy. Give Big Ben the Cowboys' offensive line. He throws for 10,000 freaking yards.
And I mean,
plain and simple.
As much as I don't like Aaron Rodgers, I don't like Tom Brady either. But I have to give Tom Brady credit for what he's done this year. I have to give Le'Veon, like you said, David Johnson. we'll touch on him a little later. He's on his own pace to set historic landmarks. I mean, Christ, Derek Carr until he got hurt, even over A-Rod. Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I can't believe
there's lots of options.
Why are people even think of playing their studs? And I know you want to clinch better positions and this and that. Fuck momentum. I don't believe in that at all. If you're going to win, you can win on any given Sunday. The fact of the matter is you can't allow your studs to get hurt. You just can't. And I get it can happen any day, so why wouldn't it happen the next week? But if it's going to happen, don't let it happen week 17 before the playoffs start.
When it doesn't matter. We just saw Carr and Mariota go out. I mean, if you have a first-round bye, there is no momentum to keep because you're already going to have a week off anyways.
Now, is this a dig on D'Angelo with them wanting him to play? Because I believe he's been a healthy scratch, at least last week or the week before. I'm with you. I don't play him at all. I find him to be the better running back for this reason. He's more secure with the ball. We've seen old boy, the third string there, fumble last year in a huge game, but I'm not going to complain and say that's the reason we lost, because if Jeremy Hill didn't fumble the game before, the Steelers wouldn't have had a chance to win and even be in the position that they were in. So it happens to everyone.
Well, the reason I don't think they should play him is like last week, he wasn't even a healthy scratch. He had some swelling in his knee. Yeah. So that was why they were playing it safe with him. Why don't they play it safe with him again this week?
Well, maybe they pay him.
If you lose, you lose.
Well, maybe they pay him a little more, and he's not out there trying to get gas money. So let's remember that, Pittsburgh.
That's true. All right, we got the Buffalo Rex Ryans and the New York Jets.
Nice wordplay. I fondled that in my mind.
Fondled it like feet with Rex Ryan.
Wow.
We can dog him because he's gone now.
2 feet, 1 cleat.
Ooh, I love it. Well, Ryan's fired. This team, I don't understand the Bills. They're 7-8. 8th best point differential in the NFL. 5th best turnover differential in the NFL. How are they 7-8? With numbers like that, they should be, 10-5, competing. Well, it's consistency. Tyrod Taylor, they're benching him because they're worried about him getting hurt and paying out the big money guaranteed to him next year if he gets hurt. They don't know if he's the answer. Is the new coach going to see that? I don't know. Like Sam Bradford, I kind of like Tyrod Taylor. He doesn't have a lot to work with. He's in a running offense. It's hard for him to throw a lot. His only receiver worth a crap is Sammy Watkins, who has been hurt half the time he's been there.
Yeah.
And they run 40 times a game.
How many games this year did they have Watkins and LaShawn healthy, ready to go?
None, because Watkins isn't even healthy now.
And now look at the 2s and 3s, like Robert Woods. Were they ready to go? Give Tyrod Taylor a chance. I think I almost like Tyrod Taylor slightly more than Bradford because of the mobility factor.
Right, I agree with you. And I don't hate Tyrod Taylor. That being said, I think you're going to see a lot of shady in this game. They're going to play for something even though they have nothing to play for. You're going to see Gillislee getting his vulture as he usually does. Sammy Watkins is going to play ball out, I'm thinking. Fitzpatrick, he's starting for the Jets, which hurts Mr. Rob Anderson because Fitzpatrick doesn't like him. Maybe Brandon Marshall will show up this year even though he lost his bet to AB.
Dumbass.
Now, Mr. Fitzmagic, that magic's kind of disappeared. In 3 of the games he hasn't started this year, he still threw 10 or more passes. That's not a good sign. It's really not. The Jets, I guess, Bilal Powell. I don't even want to flex Brandon Marshall. Charles Clay might be an option in Buffalo with whoever they're starting at quarterback because it's not E.J. Manuel.
I don't even like Robbie Anderson without Bryce Petty.
I don't either.
All value. I feel bad for anyone that I said last week to plug him in. We've seen Bryce Petty go down, and then we've seen Robbie Anderson put up zeros. That is a shout-out to you, Josh Miller-Schofield.
Haha. So, even though he's not their coach anymore, we're going to give you one last credit for the year. The Buffalo Rex Ryans take this one. Ryans 35, Jets 14.
Daryl, what is the over-under? I know Buffalo and New York aren't too far away. What do you think the over-under is for flying dildos to come on the field here? We've seen a couple weeks ago the Buffalo fans, they get a little bored during halftime, so they just do a little stick it and hit it. But, I don't think they'll be throwing them at their own fans. I think they'll be throwing them at Fitzpatrick. This guy does nothing but throw interceptions. maybe you throw him at wide receiver and he can catch a ball instead of throw a ball. I do know after he loses his job and doesn't get hired anywhere else because Matt Flynn is a better backup quarterback than this guy, that you will find him on Wall Street jerking the gherkin. With all that being said, you touch bases everywhere on this ground. Austin Seferian-Jenkins sucks again. The defenses are going to be abysmal. I wish we could see a high-scoring game. Hey, maybe there'll be snow and we'll get to see a snap knee. I'm sorry, but we'll know who it'll be. I personally wouldn't play LaShawn McCoy with no implications. You have Gillislee and you workhorse it. I really think that's something you need to debate right there, especially if you have Gillislee. With that being said, the score is going to be the Buffalo Bills winning 14-3.
See, my over-under on the flying dildos on there was not many, just because there's so many dildos on the field already. Yeah. They might not flood it anymore.
Hell, they're filled in the stands, too. How do you guys keep buying tickets? I know it's only $6, but I could go get a value meal worth more than that game.
Oh, you're talking McChickens with cheese, homie?
Oh, man. Waffle fries full fruit. Woo, woo. But you ain't no nerd.
All right. We got Cowboys-Eagles. I'm loving it. Love me some Dak. Supposedly Dak starts, and Sanchez will play most of the snaps. I think they're stupid if Dak even starts and plays one snap. There's no momentum when you have a bye. We were talking about this. I get it. It's a divisional opponent. The Cowboys are playing for absolutely nothing in this game. Dak, I was talking before, he hit that little patch of a couple games where he played kind of like ass. 47 for 56, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown in his last 2. But the positive on this, we get to see butt fumble. I love watching butt fumble play because you never know what's going to happen. Is it going to be Alfred Morris or Darren McFadden instead of Zeke? Once again, I think you're stupid to play Zeke. I think you're stupid to play Dez. Terrence Williams might be a sneaky flyer here, but he's got butt fumble thrown to him.
I'm going to quote one of my favorite movies here. We are going to get to see the mark of Buddha. The skid mark of Buddha? I mean, Mark Sanchez runs into more asses than donkeys get ridden on. I don't know. The problem here is I kind of enjoy the Dallas Cowboys this year, and I didn't think I would find myself saying that. And it's Dak on time right now. I mean, this guy doesn't throw a high volume of passes. He's efficient. The line is good enough, and when Zeke's on the field, there's so much focus on him that he can run the ball anytime he wants. I think the scariest team in the playoffs right now is the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, they're so well balanced. I mean, you have you can't even debate it. Best offensive line in the league, in my opinion. Is Zeke the best running back in the league? No. I think Pittsburgh's got a better one. I think Arizona's got a better running back, but Zeke is still top 3, top 4. You might want to pick and choose on that, but regardless of that, you got Dez. He does take the top off of defenses, yet Witten stretches the seams in the middle.
Do you agree with me here? Sorry to cut you off again.
You're good.
I think if one player on the defense goes down, they fall apart, and I think we both know who that is, and that's Mr. Sean Lee. He stayed healthy this year, and that's big huge reason. We've seen Dallas every year. We're all over this Dak and Zeke thing. We've seen Dallas be able to score before, but they haven't been able to stop teams from scoring. And I think the defense deserves more credit than this offense is really getting.
I think a big part of why their defense should get more credit, I'm with you on that one, is part of how their offense is playing. I think they're on the field longer, so your defense is more rested. Years gone by, not so much DeMarco one year that Tony Romo had him, but before that, they were throwing the shit out of the ball. Their defense was on the field all day, and it wears a D out.
Their team is nasty. I just want to thank you very much, Dallas. You had me punching my table and swearing at the TV by not picking up that last first down. I was facing Zach Zenner last week. DeAndre Washington, and they brought him out with 1:06 left, even though Zach Zenner was the key back in that game. You guys held true, and you held the fort down. Even like is it Barry Church? I just know it's Church.
I think it is Barry Church, yeah.
That's Barry-tastic right there. All I know is if they stay healthy, I don't see them losing in the playoffs. I hate to say it. I do. I know A-Rod's hot. I know I have money on the Giants. but they're good all around. Special teams. I mean, Bailey can kick in any condition.
No, the only team I would see, honestly, giving them a playoff risk is the Giants. Obviously, they've beaten them twice.
I like that.
I really do. Now, the Eagles, sitting at 6-9. I know Wentz started out 3-0, started out hot. I still think he's the future there. He doesn't have a lot to work with at wide receiver. Even though they're 6-9, they've played a league-high 11 teams with a winning record this year. They've played one of the toughest schedules in the league versus, hey, you cheeseheads, look at the Packers' schedule. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. That being said, the Cowboys, once again, just like the Steelers, even though I think they're going to rest everybody of importance, you might want to start Jordan Matthews, I guess, if you're starting anyone out of these games, because Carson Wentz is going to have to throw. Still not going to be enough. Maybe McFadden if he plays. I don't know if they're going to give it to Morris or not. Either way, Dallas takes it. Cowboys 24, Eagles 21.
Yeah, Cowboys 28, Eagles 13.
Texans, Titans.
How many games we got left, boss? I'm getting kind of drunk over here.
I hear you. I'm working on it. Texans, Titans. Texans at 9-6. They've clinched. They can't improve. Titans at 8-7. Mariota's out. They're out of the playoffs. Savage was 18 for 29, 176 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. I guess if that's what it takes.
That's fucking cute.
That's not too macho though. Lamar Miller. I think if they're smart, they rest him.
Alfred Blue.
Yep. Alfred Blue. You're gonna want to look at him. Texans have won their last 3 games by a total of 8 points. I don't think this game's going to be as close. I think it'd be closer if Mariota was playing. But even as the Titans at 8-7, even if they lose this game, ended up 8-8, they got to be happy considering they had the number 1 pick in the draft last year. That's a lot of improvement. They're showing that they have a team that can compete in the future. They built around the offensive line. They were smart with it. Houston, still having questions at quarterback. Hey, Romo. That's a thought. You can stay in Texas. That being said, Texans take it. They're going to ride Alfred Blue. Houston 28, Titans 17.
Brokeback Mountain. I have a question for you. As a Delaney
Yes,
Walker owner, are you confident with him going into this week, knowing the backup quarterback is going to be there? And statistically, what we see the routes being ran with Delaney there is about 10 to 20 yards up the field and over the middle. I think personally, I would feel good. I just think they're shorter routes, and he needs to see higher volume to where he's normally a touchdown dependent with about 8 targets a game.
I'm scared with most of my lineup this week. We touched on Shady, we touched on Gore. I'm scared of Delaney too, but I'm thinking like you that instead of them 10 to 20, it's going to be that 5 to 10, and they dump off to him all game because that's what they're going to have.
Personally, if I'm you, I think I'm rooting more for your opponent's team to flop than for yours to boom.
That's a big part of it.
That being said, I am going to take the Houston Texans 13 to 10.
Okay, 8-7 Ravens, 5-9-1 Bengals. AJ Green's out. Bengals have missed 7 field goals and 6 extra points this year, most in the NFL. Negative 7 point differential. That's huge with a 5-9-1 record. Effort's out. Ravens eliminated from the playoffs, but they haven't won in Cincinnati. They haven't won in Cincinnati since 2011. I think it changes this week. Steve Smith, 89% sure he retired. I'm with you on that one, Dave. I think he wants out of Baltimore. I don't blame him. I don't think Flacco, I know he got paid, had the hot run. I don't think he's the answer. That being said, is it going to be West? Is it going to be Dixon? That's the coin flip we play every week with these teams. I don't like anybody in this game. I like Justin Tucker. I really like Justin Tucker. He is their MVP, speaking of MVPs.
I think he needs to be an honorable mention for MVP serious candidate. The man doesn't... But who else do you feel comfortable with when they're kicking a 50-yard field goal?
That's about it.
For real. Like, in any condition.
I mean, any conditions. It can be shitty, snowing, 20-mile-an-hour winds. Tucker's money. That being said, Baltimore takes it. Ravens 23, Bengals 14. On the leg of Tucker.
Yeah, I personally am super happy to see the Baltimore Ravens out of the playoffs. They're a very tough opponent for my Pittsburgh Steelers. That comeback last week was fan-fucking-tastic. I was a little upset. If you don't follow on our Facebook page, you should. I posted a picture I literally won by 1 point exactly, and I put Big Ben in the last second that I could over Jameis Winston, or I would have lost by 1 point. And when he started out, I had 1 touchdown pass and 2 interceptions. I'm like, what are you doing here? I mean, as soon as Josh Miller-Schofield left my house, they went off and started scoring. He is sitting here in silent. We are going to try and get him on before this podcast is over. He's been making many moves in our fantasy basketball league, and he wants to give you some insight on who to look for. With all that being said, I have the Baltimore Ravens winning this game 13-10.
All right, we got Chiefs and Chargers. The Chargers last week somehow lost to the shithole team in Cleveland. The Chiefs, 11-4. They can win the AFC West yet with a win and a Raiders loss. They got a lot to play for. Last week for the Chiefs was the first time their offense scored more than 2 touchdowns. Their offense, not total points scored more than 2 touchdowns in their last 8 games. I think they do it again this week against the Chargers. Tyreek Hill, no catches last week, but he had 95 rushing yards and a touchdown. Still relevant. Kelce, 11 catches, 160 yards and a touchdown, like we talked about earlier. He leads the NFL in receiving yards in the last 6 games with 651. The next closest player behind him is a receiver who's 89 yards behind him. That being said, Phillip Rivers, once again, like Sam Bradford, I don't hate Phillip Rivers. I feel sorry for him. There's so many injuries there. I like Tyrell Williams this week. I like Inman. I don't like any running back that's suiting up for San Diego, not named Melvin Gordon.
I'll take Ronnie Hillman.
Yeah, but I think they're going to have to throw so much in this game that they're going to get away from it. I think Rivers is a decent start. He's going to throw his couple picks as usual. He's going to throw the shit out of the ball. The Chiefs still take this one. They're going to ride their defense. They're going to ride their offense. They're going to ride Travis Kelce to a victory. Kansas City, 31. Chargers, 21.
Don't tell all the women on Travis Kelce's show that there's a man trying to ride him unless they're into it. I don't hate and I don't discriminate. I do think it takes certain circumstances to feel comfortable with a Ronnie Hillman, because I said it, I'm infatuated with KC's defense moving forward here. I think they're the future of a past Seattle or Denver powerhouse defense, as long as Justin Houston can stay healthy. Eric Berry, much love
Tom
to you
Bahali.
again. Oh my
they're
God,
stacked all over.
Poe throwing touchdown passes. I mean, it's just McNasty. We're looking out here. You got the right type of settings, quarter point carries, stuff like that. We've seen Justin Forsett in the end zone. Things can happen. I'm not going to elaborate too far into this. We also thought last week that Rivers would be throwing touchdown passes against the Browns, and he didn't. I think their downside was not running the ball more, something that the Browns did a lot earlier in the season, even when they were down, and I think that is what bit them in the ass, and they deserved it. With that being said, the Chargers will win this game 24-21.
Talking about the Chiefs winning the AFC West, I think they do. The Raiders are going into Denver. Denver started out 4-0. They're eliminated from the playoffs at 8-7. Matt McGloin is starting. 6 career starts. They win. They clinch the AFC West in a bye. I don't see it happening. I think they're going to ride Latavius. I think Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree.
Reverse my score. I'm sorry. I did not have the Chargers beating the Chiefs there. It is 24-21 Chiefs over the Chargers.
Right on.
That is my bad.
No, I see the Raiders leaning on Latavius. I see Cooper and Crabtree really dropping in the rankings. They're still in the top 20 just on potential. I don't trust them, not against the Broncos D in Denver, not with Matt McGloin as quarterback. That being said, the Broncos, Trevor Siemian, I have him in my top 12 this week at quarterback. I think Emmanuel and Demaryius Thomas are going to have a game. I think the Broncos defense is going to have a game. That being said, Denver takes this. McGloin throws multiple picks. Even though they should have rode Latavius, that's how you beat this Broncos D, is run the shit out of the ball. Denver takes it. Broncos 20, Raiders 14.
If I would have lost, I would have been so upset. I wish I would have, known that going into this week, if it's last week, let's just say, being an Amari Cooper owner, that Derek Carr was out, because it was hard to not start him against the Indianapolis Colts. I bench him and Michael Crabtree this week, going with that backup. I'd feel better with Roberts or someone else there, even Wolford. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too huge on this game. I really think Oakland is going to get the snot just pounded out of them on the offensive, defensive side. I'm going to give you a crazy score here. You touched on my favorite player in this game, in Emmanuel Sanders. He will have 2 touchdowns and he eclipse over 100 yards. It will be the Denver Broncos winning big with 2 defensive touchdowns on top of Emmanuel Sanders, 42-17.
Nice. Wouldn't surprise me. Seahawks, Niners. The Niners are 2-13. They ended their 13-game losing streak with a win against the Rams. That's the only team they've beaten this year. Seahawks 9-5-1. They lost the number 2 seed last week with their loss against Arizona. Tyler Lockett done for the year with a leg injury. They're 2-3 in their last 5. 12 giveaways, 5 takeaways in their last 5 games.
How do you lose and tie against Arizona and expect to hang in the NFC?
And then lose at home against them, where Seattle, I do believe at that point, was undefeated. Rawls, he's preparing to play. I don't know if you're going to see him.
Less than a point in standard last week.
Yeah. I don't think it really matters. They're playing the Niners without their only relevant offensive weapon in Carlos Hyde. If it's Sean Drawn,
I like DeJuan Harris.
I do too, but I don't like either of them, honestly, against Seattle.
See people get tackled by the dreads. We're getting it.
I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. Grab them by the dreads. That's something Trump might go for.
Straight by the pigskin.
Grab them right by the pigskin. That being said, I like Russell. I like Jimmy Graham. I like Doug Baldwin this week. I like Seattle's D. I love Seattle's D this week. Seattle's just going to own this game. All aspects from the opening coin flip. Seahawks take it. Seattle 34, Niners 7. And that's being generous.
I feel like if the NFL had a value menu, they could kill it with grab it straight by the pigskin.
I think that's a great slogan. They need to adopt it.
350. I agree here. I am going to make this my upset pick of the week, though. There is no Carlos Hyde. I really think Seattle is going to go in and underestimate this team. You know me, I don't hate Colin Kaepernick. He's a little bit below Sam Bradford. I think it's going to be very low scoring. 17-14, 49ers win this game.
Cardinals, Rams. 6-8-1. The Cardinals really disappointed this year. One of many teams. Rams 4-11. They've lost 10 of their last 11 games. This team had some aspirations, started out decent, gave the Niners their only 2 wins of the year. Their offense is the worst in the league. Todd Gurley disappointed lots of fantasy owners this year. Cardinals.
Cold ass broke down Gurley fries.
Right. I like me some Gurley fries. Not the Todd Gurley variety.
Fuck no, he's got crabs.
Crabtree. Cardinals played the spoiler in Seattle last week, getting rid of their number 2 seed. 6 sacks versus Russell Wilson last week. What are they going to do against Jared Goff? Oh, boy.
Go off.
Right? David Johnson, we were talking about him earlier. Chance to set a record here. If he gets 100 yards from scrimmage this week, it will be the first time any running back in the history of the NFL has gotten 100 yards from scrimmage in every single game. 100 yards from scrimmage is rushing and receiving. I like David Johnson. I think they ride him. Carson Palmer's still old. I know he has flashes here and there. They're just going to ride David Johnson. Game in. All from the beginning to the end. Larry Fitzgerald, he might be up there with Steve Smith thinking about it. I want out unless they get a quarterback. That being said, Rams don't have enough. I don't know if you got Gurley and you're playing this week.
Kick yourself in the dick.
Yeah, because if you got Gurley, you're probably not playing this week.
Or Clit.
I am the Clit Commander. The Arizona Cardinals take this one. Cardinals 35, Rams 10.
Yeah, I'd be kicking Gurley out of the van like he was a dirty sheep fucker because he's not one of us.
A van down by the river?
You know it. And I mean, I'm going to say it right now. We're going to see how many loyal listeners we have out there. We have a gentleman in our league that I grew up with. I'm going to give him an offer right now that he will have 48 hours to respond to. He traded me David Johnson. I told him he would never get him back because this is a keeper league. Henry, your choice is to give me AJ Green and your first 2 picks for David Johnson. The offer is valid I want your first 2 rounds, no swap, and A.J. Green, and you can have David Johnson, but you need to respond to me in 48 hours. I know the 2 gentlemen here that are listening to this podcast are not going to inform him, so that means that you must still stay active with this podcast, even though you are not in playoffs, and that is a real thing. With that being said, David Johnson scores 4 touchdowns and wins this game 28-3.
I was thinking 3 myself, but we're right there. All right, Saints-Falcons. Saints aren't playing for anything. That don't matter. Drew Brees, he's about 170 yards short of going over 5,000 for the 5th time in his career. 37 years old, over 5,000 yards. Him and Brady just keep doing it even with their advanced age. Falcons sitting at 10-5. They've clinched the NFC South, the number 2 seed. They're on pace for 535 points scored this year. The most since that Denver team with Peyton Manning, where they just went off and set records. Brees. You know, the man, I really like Drew Brees. He feels that their team is on the cusp and is right there. I don't see it. I know he's got the talent on offense. Their defense just sucks ass.
When I feel that I'm on the cusp, I pull out. I only failed twice.
Well, hey, out of how many times, though? I mean, 2 out of multiple times is great numbers. Exactly. The Saints 7-8 right now. They're 7-9 in 3 of the last 4 years. Are they going to do it again? Yeah, I think they end up 7-9 again. They're not going to spoil the Falcons' number 2 seed. They're in Atlanta. I think Matt Ryan goes off. Julio, they've been kind of resting him, keeping him healthy. Taylor Gabriel, you're going to see lots of Devonta Freeman in this game. I think Taylor has a good game. I think Julio, he doesn't go off, but you know what? He's going to command enough attention to open up the whole rest of the offense. Brees will get his. I know the Atlanta defense is underrated and they're in Atlanta, but Brees, he's not going to just give away the season just because they're eliminated. He's too competitive for that. I like Michael Thomas here. I like Brandon Cooks here. It's in a dome. That's huge. Cooks is that guy that runs really fast that way. And Brees likes finding those guys. Michael Thomas, you talked about it when he was out. When he plays, he opens up, hey, Brandon Cooks, run really fast that way. I'll get all the attention. I like Brees this week. I like Matt Ryan.
Sounds like a game we'd play in the hood.
Right? Run really fast that way. Otherwise, your shoes are going over the telephone wire. Falcons take it. I really think they're a scary team. They have a very complete offense. They're deadly all over. Atlanta 38, Saints 31.
They're weirdly deep at tight end.
They are.
Insanely deep at tight end in fantasy relevancy. Yeah, you touched on a lot of bases there. I enjoy Taylor Gabriel. Fucking hate Julio Jones. He's a cocksucker. Yeah, I don't know. I firmly believe that I'm half in the bag because I just said I'd get rid of David Johnson. The Falcons will win this game, and you can believe it because I'm really not that drunk. I'm just playing that role. Call me Gary Coleman, 27-14.
Getting rid of David Johnson for that isn't all bad because you get AJ and
4 picks.
Yeah. That's
There's
4 picks in the first 2
rounds. There.
That's stacking your team. All right, Giants-Redskins. Giants are locked in at the 5 seed. They can't improve it. I think they're foolish if they play their starters. We talked about this before. I know they don't get a bye, and I know there's such a thing as momentum. Maybe they don't want to see the Redskins in the playoffs. Maybe that's enough motivation. The Redskins have an outside chance yet. They're 8-6-1. They're 6-1-1 when rushing for 90-plus yards. Giants haven't scored 20 points in 4 straight games. That being said, I'm leery of Odell. I'm leery of Eli. I'm always leery of Eli. He's the most consistent, inconsistent quarterback in the NFL. You touched on Will Tye. I think that's a great option. I think Kirk Cousins, you talked about him earlier. He can throw 3 picks. He'll still get you 35 points because he throws the shit out of the ball. They have a deadly offense, even without Jordan Reed.
50 times the game. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but dude, he really is. You opened my eyes to him this year. He's a very good QB.
I love Captain Kirk. It's just their defense doesn't have enough, and for some reason, when he throws for 350-ish, they lose. Because maybe it's because their offense, when they're put in that situation, he has to throw because their defense can't stop anyone. That being said, I think the Giants don't have enough to play for. The Redskins are fighting, trying to get in. They're at home. I think Captain Kirk asks Scotty to beam him a victory, and they take it. Redskins 28, Giants 20.
I know we're getting close here on time. How do you feel with the Rob Kelly, Chris Thompson situation this week? If you're a Rob Kelly owner, I almost would feel a little more comfortable with Chris Thompson. With all that being said, the Giants aren't going to let any of their main guys get hurt. They're already a little banged up on defense. Kirk Cousins cakewalks this game, 35-12.
I don't know about Rob Kelly or Chris Thompson. Honestly, in this game, I look for something different.
Yeah, we'll let you know about Deshaun Jackson, too. He's a little banged up. If he's out, you mentioned this in previous weeks, too, Jamison Crowder gains huge value.
And Garcon's really stepping it up. I'm flexing him this week myself. Now, the game of the week. Packers-Lions. In my opinion, it's game of the week. It's for the NFC North. I do believe if the Lions win it, don't they have...
No, I believe that the Packers have already clinched it. The only way that the Lions can get in is if they tie. The Packers and Lions both get into the playoffs. Please correct me if I am wrong on our page.
Correct, because I had read something. It was the fourth straight year they're playing for the NFC North in the Week 17 that the Packers are.
I'll give that a quick look-see.
Because something with a weirdy tiebreaker, because after head-to-head it goes to something else, and if they split. That being said,
the half game, correct?
They're both 9-6, but the Packers have the only victory in the one game that they've played this year. I don't really think it matters. I think Stafford's finger's bothering him more than normal. I don't think they have the offense. A-Rod's hot right now. He's in the zone. If they use Ty Montgomery properly. Jordy, you brought that up. Is it A-Rod getting hot? I think it's Jordy finally being healthy. Last week for the Lions, first time allowing over 20 points since the beginning of October this year. They give up over 20 points again. The Packers, I hate saying this, the Packers take this. I like Jordy. I like A-Rod. I don't like him, but for fantasy purposes. Green Bay 34. Lions 27. Theo.
Sorry, here's my prediction. I believe this will be a tie game. I believe there will be collusion in this game. And here's why I say that. As a Green Bay Packer owner, fan, player, GM, coach, do you want to go up against a team that you've already beat this year and potentially can beat again this week? Or do you want to play the Washington Redskins? I don't think that Detroit would screw their hopes up of getting into the playoffs. Simply put, I think both teams would be smart to want to play each other. Now, again, does Detroit want to see Green Bay? No. But if Green Bay, their front office goes up to Detroit's front office, they work something out and say, hey, we're going to guarantee a tie. Tell me you're not going to take that over wanting to chance needing to beat Green Bay, a very tough Green Bay team, since Mike McCarthy pulled his head out of Cheeseburger Eddie's ass and said, hey, we're going to run Ty Montgomery a lot and out of the shotgun. Even when you had Starks, we said this weeks ago, you didn't need to do that. You needed to workhorse it, and he did great things. With that being said, this game's going to be tied 17-17.
It's funny you brought that up. I actually saw somebody making a post on a blog about how what would happen, what would the NFL do if both teams just agreed to just sit and take knees and end it at 0-0? Just to make sure they both get in.
They would seriously get fucking fined.
I believe
reimburse ticket sales. I believe they lose draft picks, but I would love to see it. I think that'd be great. History. I also want to get rid of the Lambeau Leap.
That's like Popovich being like, hey, Duncan, Ginobili, Tony Parker, you're not playing. Coach's decision. Why? Old.
Well, all right. Here's the problem, too. It's not only that. They have to worry about Tampa Bay. If Tampa Bay gets the W, which...
with their tie.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay does play, I believe, before them. Absolutely, they play before Green Bay, so they're going to have that scenario. Now, if Tampa Bay wins, both teams are going to be going balls to the wall.
That's what we were talking about with Tampa with the lottery pick type thing. They need Washington to lose and Green Bay and Detroit to tie, and they need to win and something else crazy. Now, Belichick or bust. My two for the week, both running backs. I'm going Alfred Blue. I'm going Jaquiz Rodgers. And Jaquiz Rodgers is my number one Belichick or bust this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go with here, I'm going to go Mark Sanchez. Because he sucks. And, well, fuck it. I'll go Ronnie Hillman against a very tough Kansas City defense. More of a standard play than a PPR. We will be doing the Polar Plunge this weekend. We will have it recorded and posted up on our page. I don't want to call it so much as a punishment for bad picks because punishment is bad terminology. We love titties and we hate cancer. We love you women and we want to see you live and succeed. We are donating our money and time. Please come out to the Red Fox in Wild Rose. You can find it on Google search. If you need help, ask us on our page. Great raffles. I mean, Packers, Brewers, they always usually donate stuff out to this. They had Channel 5 News out there the other year. Come out and show your support, please.
How can you not like boobies and how can you not hate cancer? Those are two very good, or one very good and one very bad things.
Absolutely. And again, stay up to date on our page. We're debating what we're going to do. We're leaning more towards letting someone into a football league next year. We're going to do a bracket challenge for the NCAA tournament and limit it to the first 100 people who enter. There will be a certain way to get in, whether we do a random podcast up before that with a keyword or have you do something. It's just something that we're allowing you to get in free. So you should definitely want to get in because there's not another set of people or single person out there handing out free money entries into leagues.
No, I was in one of the Bo and Barry show. I was in one of their free leagues one year, but who gives away money league entries? Oh, we do. That being said, thank you everybody for your support. Good luck. May the fantasy gods be with you.